Who am I?
Who am I? I don't know.
Friends, welcome back to the Brave New Wear Show. My name's Christian. Today is episode 2 of the Advanced Aesthetics series, and we are talking about authenticity. What does it mean to be authentic? In the first episode, I asked you guys to create an inspiration and a mood board, and now we're going to go and look at what we collected and kind of try to identify what it means to be authentic, what it means to have authenticity. If we are being ourselves, that is going to be the most positive, the most engaging, the most interesting version of expression that we can do. People will know when you're being a phony, basically, and they will respond most positively when the way you dress, the way that you express your aesthetic is linked to who you actually are. Our garments, our clothes, our aesthetic vision has some connection to who we are as a person, which is why I'm starting this video in the woods. I grew up here. The woods will always be a part of my story, who I am. Include that somehow in my aesthetic. It doesn't have to be obvious or derivative. Like, I don't have to have camo or only dress in hiking gear. That's not what I mean. Everything that makes my experiences unique should be considered when I'm creating my aesthetic. But before I go any further, let's do housekeeping. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe down below, and I suggest you pause this video and actually start from the beginning. I will have a link to the playlist up here. So this is episode 2. There's technically 2 other videos in this series. Watch them first. If you like this content, please leave a like down below. That lets me know that this aesthetic series, while it's not the kind of content that brings new viewers to the channel, it might be the kind of content that you guys love. And I want to thank you guys so much for the likes on the last video. 194. That's 194 students. So this is like a lecture hall. Like we're at Harvard or something. So I hate to do this, but can we get 200 likes on this video? I've got to get, can you smash the like button and get 200 likes on this video? You know, it's your choice. You do whatever you want. And third, stay to the end of the episode, because that's when I'm going to be talking about your homework assignments and go over what I've pinned on my board. Thank you guys so much for sending your content. I loved the boards, and I'm going to talk about it at the end, so you have to watch all of the video. Authenticity is literally possessing inherent or original authority. And that last word, authority, that's kind of important here, because authority doesn't have to literally be, I can only wear plaid shirts if I'm a lumberjack. It means that you have the capacity to embody these different aesthetics. The story you're telling is original to you, and there is some link to why you're picking your clothing because of who you are. And honestly, this idea is still very nebulous, very kind of weird, confusing. There's a million different interpretations, and I think that one of the biggest questions we're all going to have when we're talking about authenticity is what if I like Saint Laurent Paris? Can I not dress like a rock star unless I'm literally a rock star? I don't think that's the case, but I do think that there's an extent into which your authority in how you dress and how you appear and how you present yourself and everything about you plays a role in how authentic that aesthetic comes off. Now, time for some big brain, hive mind quotations and citations. Authenticity in Art is an essay in the book, The Oxford Handbook of Aesthetics. That's right, we've got a handbook of aesthetics in this aesthetic series, written by Dennis Dutton. Here's one quote that I wanted to share. Artistic value is achieved only when an artwork expresses the authentic values of its maker, especially when those values are shared by the artist's immediate community. There's two different types of authenticity. Honestly, the first step in discovering our own authenticity is kind of understanding our emotions and our needs as a person. And obviously, that is something that you spend your entire life doing. It's a realm of philosophy that you will kind of practice forever. Just starting with the notion, with like the observance that I need to kind of understand who I am emotionally and like mentally in order to understand like what my values are. I don't know who I really am. I don't know what type of person I will be in 10 years, in 20 years, in 5 years. I was a totally different person 5 years ago. That is natural and normal. You can't expect you're going to pick an aesthetic mode and it's never going to change and nothing will be different and you totally know who you are 200%. Maybe you're thinking to yourself, you know, if you're handsome, if you're hot, if you're sexy, you can make anything look good. What difference does it make? One of the core ideas of the series is that we're going to create our own personal aesthetics. We're going to create something that's new. And I think the only way we'll actually be able to create something unique and new, something where we have original authority, is by looking at what makes us different and unique. In life, you have to play to your strengths and apply the things that make us authentic and real. So I mentioned this idea of values earlier. Somebody asked me, what are my values? Yeah, I'm not exactly sure, but there are certain things that I think are true to what I want in clothing and the types of things that I think about. I have a scattered mind. I have a scattered brain. I think there will always be two elements of me. This chaos where I'm just trying to focus on one thing and I can't, and the order that I want to create for myself. Like I described in other videos, I want to have pieces that fulfill a specific role to their best potential. But I can't let this desire for like order make my clothing look boring. When we're thinking about these values specifically, we should consider, what do we want out of our clothes? How do we like to wear clothes? Do we like to be very meticulous and think about every outfit the night before? Or are we the type of person that wants to grab two pieces when we wake up in the morning and have them work together without too much forethought? Where you live is important. How you live is important. You can be an accountant and dress like a punk. I can imagine a universe where that is authentic. But in that universe, it's not like that dude isn't like a type A, by the books, doesn't like to rage against the machine. The punk accountant, I imagine, is into like guerrilla gardening in his community. Likes to attend town hall because like he's trying to give power back to the people. There are ways in which authenticity can be expressed without thinking of clothing as costumes that have to be assigned to specific roles. Because that isn't what we're wanting to do. We're not trying to limit the places that we find inspiration. We want basically anywhere to be an inspiration. What we are trying to do is then take those inspirations, like our mood boards, and then kind of say, okay, what is truthful about me? What is real about me? What is real about my experience that nobody else has? And in terms of having like neat, orderly, perfect garments, I think you can achieve that, and I can achieve order with my wardrobe. But it's a type of order that doesn't try to mute the bombastic, expressive person that I am. The moment you've all been waiting for, I'm gonna go over some of the Pinterest boards that were shared last week to me, your homework assignments. Let's see. Let me start with Emma Capitan. And I wanted to start with hers because I just wanted to say that, like, when I first started this channel, 99% of my audience was dudes, 1% not dudes. Now it's like 5% women, 95% men. All of the ideas and the things that we're talking about in this series are like realistically not limited to men. And I often will talk about women's fashion interchangeably. So if you are a woman watching this channel, here's a big thumbs up. Thank you for being here, I guess. And also, like, I was just trying to do research on what are the who else has made aesthetic videos? Who else has made guides to an aesthetic? And a lot of them are trash. Arto. I think that might be me. I mean, the video is edited cute, but if this is the material for women to develop their aesthetic fashion-wise, then everybody can value from this series. Emma's board. What I really noticed, what I really liked about this board off the top, was there seemed to be kind of like a 90s rave quality or aesthetic. And I think maybe there was even some 90s rave flyers. I really love that. That Days picture I went by a second ago, I really like. And also, just more of whenever I see in these kind of aesthetic mood boards, I love to see things that aren't strictly fashion. Like this kind of is weird. Yeah, see? Boom. Bingo. Bongo. These types of things are cool and interesting. And I think that in terms of adopting them in an authentic way, if we're talking about 90s rave thing, it's obviously you're never going to go back to the time into the 90s and go to a rave then. But I think that if you're dressing like that, if you're trying to adopt some of those aesthetic qualities, I think you should have some interest in that kind of nightlife. I'm not saying you can only dress that way if you go and party, but if you are dressing like a raver, I think your attitude and energy should relate to that. So let's look at Gonzo Gonzalez. I've got a pretty old Mac, which does run remarkably well. So what I like about Gonzalez's inspiration right now, I love this piece right here. It kind of looks like it's directly referencing African art and garb, but in a way that is super modern. And it's other than Adam, you have no relationship to Africa. How can you adopt those types of things in a quote-unquote authentic way? Pablo Picasso, he was inspired by African art, specifically masks, and he adopted some of those qualities and the aesthetics that African art used in his Cubist paintings. That was original, and it was faithful to the source material. This spooky angel. And I like we've got some artworks on here too, on Gonzalez's board, that immediately kind of parlay into these different garments that use the same kind of color blocking. What I like about Gonzalez's board is it seems to be a study on a lot of African art and style, and then kind of looking at it and integrating that into a new aesthetic vision. All right, this is Schultz Baden. When I mispronounce somebody's name, just know it's because my brain is smaller than average. I like that little art, even with things that are so everybody is inspired by this thing, like 2001. It's an iconic movie, everybody knows it. It's still so visually stunning. Not wrong to say I'm also inspired by that. You just always want to look for your unique interpretation of what that means. I like this David Lynch, style icon. We're not just in his movies, but just in how he dresses. He does have a great pompadour. He has thick hair. Here is a Raf Simons piece. I think that's from 2003. It's another thing that could very well be something that a lot of people say they're inspired by. But this pairing this with these Franz Klein paintings right here is I think that's an interesting take to look at the structure of this vest and compare it to art, and then think about what about that is relevant to me? What about these two comparisons is interesting and unique in a way that it's not I'm not just being a hype beast and I copped the Raf Simons 2003 vest. And I do like you guys, a lot of you guys really followed through and you said I will include inspiration from vintage. Flatlander from Death Grips. More Death Grips, you know what? I included Death Grips in mine too. Kiko. Okay, let's look at Tennessee MacDougal. Tennessee is apparently from Switzerland, which I thought he had a very American sounding name. But I really like these hombres at sea. That look. I like this. Stuff like this is really cool to me. And it would go in my lunar module board. I love to see female fashion in this because, like I mentioned a second ago, these worlds are basically united right now. They are mixed and mingled more than ever, especially if we're talking about high fashion. So there is no reason you shouldn't look there for inspo. And Yeezy season stuff. You know, maybe this is a subject for another video. I don't dislike this. I like that. I like the way that that looks. I think that the argument would probably be that it's derivative, but at the same time, it's like, well, who is providing me the best thing for my needs? So like, I'm not gonna knock that. Don't knock it till you try it, guys. Anton, right? This I'll include your IG handle. So we've got like, what is this, undercover? Or is it, that goes to show how much of an archivist I am. It's either undercover or it's like number 9. So these kind of like rock and roll inspired pieces. I like this. I like the way that guy's shirt is cropped. Is this from the Warriors? That movie? Helmet Lang. Lang Gang. Those are dope. I love that. I don't know what this is from. Somebody will have to tell me. Lunar Core palettes. Yeah, you know, I don't know why. I have a board called Lunar Module that is supposed to be like Lunar Core aesthetic. Check it out. You know, there's something fun about that. But I think that, like, I think you can adopt kind of Lunar Core stuff, but if you're just trying to look like Buzz Aldrin, it's always going to be kind of like a costume. Okay, the only thing I would say, and like I said, I'm not really here critiquing, giving people grades or whatever. I would love to see a link between the Japanese rock and roll aesthetic up here and the pieces of kind of techwear lunar core stuff that we saw below. I would love to see a way into which they are connected. Vivian sent a link, and I believe she said that there is a video actually responding, and I haven't gotten the time to watch it yet, but I definitely will. It's not working. I think the link isn't working. I'm really sorry. Let's try. So I feel like this could be it, but I think that this is more discreet. I'm sorry. I wish we had the board that you sent. But that link is just being weird. It's not loading. All right. Universe Man 12 actually just sent me screenshots, so I have to go to my download. All right. We got some Jordans. We got some nice hoodies. We've got that jacket. Oh, you know, I remember looking through these and thinking a lot of ankle shots, which is interesting. Eddie, the man himself, the slim man himself, even just uttering his name could potentially, like, attract the trolls to comment mean things on this video. A Rolly? Yes, please. Those are nice. These are, I guess, common projects. Those are probably pretty nice. I imagine Common Projects makes a nice boot. Pictures on pictures. But we do have some YouTubers in here, don't we? Boom, boom. I didn't make the cut. There's definitely like a thematic element of like a fascination with boots, some watches, and then like some kind of like Americana pieces I'm seeing a lot of. And I totally get the impulse to like collect a lot of like this one thing that really intrigues you. Like if it's just like boots, like Chelsea boots like that. Like I totally get that. And maybe I'm not interpreting it in the right way. I would love to see more of the expression of that aesthetic in here. More of like in the same way that like, you know, like a sin that sneakerheads do is like they have really nice sneakers and then they have like a trash outfit. It's like the boots have to go with a beautiful outfit. So this is Adiarchi. Oh, you know, I know who this is. Yeah, we were messaging on Instagram. He is an architect student, just like the male love interest in rom-coms. And I think we might see some architectural influence in this Pinterest board. I like this. I like that. I don't know. That's kind of weird to me and cool. I like that. That's beautiful. Is that just art? Is that a real thing? If that was a real staircase somewhere, that's incredible. And I do like this like weather installation stuff. This looks like not even architecture, but like earth art. That pin is also on Caroline's board. F. Simmons. The memory of a vibe. If for some reason I unforgivably left your board out of this video, I do truly apologize. But I really liked a lot of the stuff that you guys sent in. You were really paying attention and thinking about this like project. I saw like art from a bunch of different artists. We saw kind of like weird photography and different architecture, and I really loved seeing Emma's board, which was clearly more feminine driven, but aesthetically so relatable and intriguing, so much like the kind of things that I would be inspired by in my own aesthetic. So let's come full circle for a second on this whole thing. We saw some of the boards that you guys sent in, your homework assignments for this project. Let's consider what is the authentic elements that we could either include into the boards or take out, perhaps, if we think, well, as much as that is kind of intriguing, maybe I just don't agree with it in some certain way, or it doesn't really translate into who I am in a way that, I don't know, I can actually make sense of. Because, like I've mentioned a million times, it's like we want to have our own looks. We want to have distinguished aesthetics, and it's only going to happen if we are not just looking at the unique things that inspire us, but also looking at the unique things that make us us. I know I'm the professor and all, but my board is lacking. Like, I really want to do this right. I really want to, like, if we ever reach an end to this series, I want there to be a clear, distinguishable aesthetic in this, like, wardrobe. Like, even just in the visual representation of these videos, how everything is set up. And any critiques or anything like that that I already have said about anybody else's boards, you could probably be doubled on mine. Like, just looking at it, like, I was just kind of looking at textures and kind of, like, I love the idea of, like, something urban, but at the same time, something connected to nature. Falling water kind of stuff. I love the idea of a greenhouse in the city. And I included stuff like this acronym jacket. I've always really admired acronym, even though I'm like, I just like I said, I don't have any tech wear clothes. I would never say I do, but there's something about that clothing, that brand, that I'm like so down with. And like just pieces like these new Rick Owens boots. There's something about that mummy strappy pentagram thing that I think is kind of really cool. I wanted to include the 7th seal, like I was talking about in my video. I think that's like just an interesting, so moody and dark. I included some leaks because as I've talked about them, I've talked about the brand multiple times on this channel. There's something about that rugged kind of industrial motocross, all these different elements that about that brand that does inspire me in some certain way, in a way that I think is authentic and not just linked to like the hype around the brand. There's something more that I find intriguing in a way that I don't think is just going to disappear. And I included some like Dieter Rams, like his like design for Braun, just because I love his design philosophy. It's like his 10 elements, and I wonder how we can take those 10 elements and apply it to garments, apply it to our wardrobe. And then I included some like Julius, because there's something about their leather jackets that I'm kind of like inspired by right now. And I have some kind of like brutalist elements. I've got the nature and the urban again. I love that kind of the dichotomy of that relationship. Great picture of Lou Reed. That's kind of my energy. It looks ridiculous, but he's a cool guy. How can I be ridiculous and cool? So this board I will be developing for a while. I think as long as I am making this series, I'm going to be constantly updating this board that you guys got a sneak peek at. So guys, let me know in the comments what you thought of this video on today's subject. I know it's not cut and dry, but I think that it's something we should keep in mind as we're moving forward. Your homework assignments for next class, what I think it really should be is you should come up with one value that you can apply to your wardrobe that's authentic. One value that is, you know, your point of authenticity that you can kind of direct towards your clothes. Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear if something comes to mind. And the other part of your homework is to have fun, guys. Have fun this weekend. Come on, get out of here. Come on, get, you go. Come on, girl. Yeah.